Tēnā koutou katoa. It's a very real honour to launch this book, The Forgotten Prophet, Tāmati Te Ito and his Kaingārara movement. I have to say, every time I reach for this wonderful book, there's a battle between my eyes and my mind. And this is Chloe Reverie's fault, the designer of this beautiful book, because she's made something that's absolutely given a beautiful face in its cover, and my eyes insist I pause and look while my mind urges me to open the cover and get to the words. The eyes always win. But it's a deeply beautiful, deeply entrancing, and as you read the book, deeply meaningful cover. So thank you, Chloe. I don't think you'll hear, but this is a message for you from us as readers and admirers of beautiful things called books. Just over a fortnight ago, I spent several days in the shadow of Taranaki Maunga, a visit arranged months ago, but as it happened within a short time after an advanced copy of The Forgotten Prophet came into my hands. As I walked and drove the lands of Taranaki, south to north, sea to mountain, west to east, tracking some of the same paths taken by Tāmati Te Ito across that land, cut, drained and fed by the rivers that flow from the mountain, I was struck powerfully by this new story. Suddenly, Tāmati Te Ito and his horsemen, blazing fires, large gatherings and intense kōrero, constant travel of people up and down those steep gullies through the forest was vividly before me. A totally new world opened up. I found myself marvelling. Could there be a new story of prophets, belief and religion from Taranaki? A place and a time from the 1840s to the 1880s, from which so much had already flowed? It turns out, yes, there is. Tāmati Te Ito's story and that of the Kaingārara movement have been given to us through this book in Dennis's phrase as common knowledge, and with great grace and disarming simplicity. Disarming because it's not a simple or easy story, as Jeff has already intimated by often saying, but it's complicated. It is. But one that shows again that the histories, the lives in this place, are made by that potent combination of whakapapa, kin, belief, and what they confront through conflict, dispute, sickness and healing, and in generating new messages of unity and peace. In the book, we're in the crucial decades of the 1850s to the 1880s in the main, in the midst of the terrible events that played out across Taranaki. But rather than concentrating on the catastrophic moments of war and invasion, 1860 to 65, and then again 1881, The Forgotten Prophet takes us to the before and after years within that canvas. In the early years, here are Taranaki iwi, exactly as Dennis has just described, returning to their lands from exile in the north and the south to once again become mana whenua on their own lands. As Te Aotearoa head north, at Wanganui, Richard Taylor watches a very large group pass by in the winter of 1848, noting in his diary 587 men, women and children, 44 canoes, 5 boats, and about 60 horses. A few years later, as so many settlements suffer from the ravages of disease, here is Tāmati again and some of his followers, just a young man in his mid-20s, someone sought out for his knowledge of sickness and remedies, and his teachings. But his wider work as the leader of the Upe Wokanoa that we've just heard about, the work of clearing and cleansing places to make them safe for his people, demands extensive travel. He's on the move from Mokau in the north to Patia in the south. It takes time, it takes means, and Taranaki is not easy country to move across. Tāmati is a man of his time. With some others, he takes ship to Victoria, Australia in the mid-1850s to earn money on the goldfields to buy horses. He's the prophet on horseback, even if his pursuit of the white horse seems to have been frustrated. And in the later after years, here we are again with Tāmati, in that transition hinge of 1869 to 71, and then at Parihaka, in the good years of the 1870s, and in the terrible dissolution of 1881, finding new paths after the brutal years of armed violence. Taranaki that's shown us through these decades the worst that we've done to each other: confrontation, war, violence, destruction, also has given us the greatest hope, peace, and unity. Tāmati Te Ito's message in the 1850s was of unity and of healing, of independence, of togetherness, that could encompass the gods of Paihia, Anglicanism, of Catholicism, the great rivals of the missionaries, and of ancestral Aotearoa, the gods. He was tohunga, then prophet, political leader. All were vital together, and all was based on an understanding that land was life and death, a place of shared habitation between people and those other forces, gods, Aotearoa, as invoked so vividly in these pages. Tāmati, born in 1829, lived in a highly dynamic world where uncertainty, possibility appeared at every turn. He saw his own house and settlement burnt deliberately 3 times in 20 years. His own position and recognition as leader rise and then fall away. And here he is, still alive in 1906 at Paraiti, north of New Plymouth, where W.H. Skinner and Percy Smith come knocking on the door, having travelled on the 12:50 p.m. train to see this man of knowledge of old times. And it's this conversation, or non-conversation, that begins the book. Our world is also highly uncertain, and in some parts of our national conversation, fractious and deeply troubling. We could extend the gift that Jeff and all who have brought this book to us by looking back to understand our histories over a longer time span. As we move in our times, making our choices, knowing the past before us, I want to suggest, could be of great value. Tāmati Te Ito had a vision of an alternative world, of unity, togetherness and peace, one he spoke of in the 1850s, that drew followers, and that he revived in the late 1860s as he taught alongside and then came to follow Tohu Kāpihi and Te Whiti o Rongamai at Parihaka. Those visions were crushed by military force, but that does not say that they cannot be reanimated in our futures. Before concluding, I want to say something to you, Jeff, if I may. And that is to thank you for this work and offer my admiration for being such a gentle scholar. I don't know if that's the difference between anthropologists and historians, or simply if it's about having a great capacity to listen to what you've been told in spoken and written forms, and then look at all those words from every angle and distill them to what is, as I say, a disarmingly simple set of pages, yet we know it's not, including those super enigmatic letters in the A.S. Atkinson collection that have stumped everybody, I think, who has gone anywhere near them. Being a gentle scholar is not in any way a lack of clarity or insight, or a synonym for softness or weakness. Indeed, it's the opposite. It's about an approach or a relationship you have as an investigator, a scholar with your subject, I think. But I continue to think about how you've done this work with great admiration. I found myself reflecting that I wish I'd arranged to have coffee with you more often, Whenever I do, I remember every word you say, as it's always so interesting and fresh. But it was too long ago since we spoke about iconoclasm, and here you are, another whole project on. Thank you. On this Tuesday, Ratu night of Mahuru, September, in Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori in 2023, it gives me only the greatest pleasure to launch and recommend in the strongest possible terms the Forgotten Prophet to you all. May Tāmati Te Ito and his message no longer be forgotten, and Jeff's work open more doors to the light reflected from Taranaki maunga. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.